how many of us take that breath for granted? How many of you this morning got up and got dressed and had breakfast and got on the drive to come to Unity Southeast and actually took a moment to realize that you were breathing? That you were breathing in life, that you were breathing in love, that you were breathing in light, that you were breathing in God. So many of us just take that for granted. We take for granted that we are the breath of life. We take for granted knowing that that breath is always there until it isn't. I loved your message today. It is something that I needed to be reminded of. Because I do find myself thinking often throughout the day, am I breathing deeply? Am I breathing lovingly? Am I breathing consciously? And personally, I think I've really done a good job with that. But then sometimes, as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you speak, I realize, am I breathing in my ministry? Am I just trusting that breath will be there? Am I knowing that Source will always provide me that breath, that light, that love to make this ministry flourish and stay alive? You see, sometimes I think it's up to me. If I just do this, or if I just do that, or if I just post this. And what I have to realize is I just have to trust that that divine within me will always lead me to where I need to be. So many times I get in my own way. I think that I have to perfect it rather than just trust it. I was awoken in the middle of the night last night and just sat in bed, and I kept thinking, what is this all about? What is this all about? You see, before I went to sleep, I was thinking about how do we? I was asking all those how do we questions. And if you've been with me long enough, you know that one of our biggest concerns, one of the biggest hopes, one of the biggest dreams that we have is a restroom on the main floor. We had a service yesterday, a going home service or a celebration of life service. The young lady who came in, she wanted it to be a going home service, so I honored that. And at the end, we had her repast downstairs. And her mother and her grandmother and her grandfather couldn't attend because they were in wheelchairs and couldn't make it down the steps. We finally figured out that if we carried the wheelchairs downstairs and we physically lifted them and carried them downstairs, we could have them enjoy the meal. And so that's what we did. Several of us lifted them up and carried them down to celebrate life well lived. But it made me think about the fact that this is a loving, caring, accepting, open community. Yet we're restricting so many. And so I was thinking, how can we? How can we? How can we? How can we get a bathroom upstairs? How can we make sure that when we say that this community is open to everyone, we also make it accessible to everyone? Well, maybe I could do a fundraiser, or maybe I could just ask people to give more, or maybe, and I kept thinking it's not about me. I need to breathe. I need to be open. So before I went to bed, I said, you know, the church is growing, the church is growing, the church is growing, Source is providing, Source is providing. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, and I heard Spirit say, I'm doing my part, are you doing yours? And that really bothered me. Because I really felt like I was doing mine. I really felt that I was breathing in church and I was breathing out love and light, and I know that that's all there is. And then the voice said, ask them. Remind them that they do my work too. And so the one area that we always have trouble with as ministers is saying, how do we get more? How do we give more? had a conversation with Bob, and Bob said, well, how do we get more? We ask for more. We teach people every day that we receive and we give, and that it's a flow and it's an open channel. And so when you're standing in front of the congregation and you're scared to ask them to give, you're also limiting their receiving. So ask them. So we've been talking in Unity a long time about, at Unity Southeast, about creating a giving program, because what we envision, and I'm going to hold this vision and I'm going to speak about it again, and I spoke about it and I thought, okay, I did that service, I'm not going to do it again because people don't want to hear about finances and money. But I want to speak about it again because it is a vision, it is something that I want to accomplish. What I would like to accomplish at Unity Southeast in Kansas City is to be a self-sustaining church. I want to create a membership system where we don't give because the message was strong on Sunday morning. Or we don't give because I wore a tie one day and the next day I didn't. We give because of the fact that we know that there is a process of giving and receiving. And that in order to be in the flow, in order to be in that breath of life, we have to breathe in and we have to breathe out. We have to accept love and we have to give love. We have to accept life and we have to give life, and we have to accept abundance and we have to give abundance. So what I was envisioning is this, and you can go on this journey with me, and I hope that you do. What I was envisioning is if we had 100 people who committed to give $30 a week, we would have every dollar we need to run this church. It would pay all the salaries. It would do all the good that we do. And if we had more than 100, we could do so much more. And then when we come in on Sunday and we take an offering, the offering goes right out into the community. It doesn't even stay with us. We decide as a church where we are going to give our good to. Because if we've already created a system where all of the church needs are taken care of, then now we can tithe as source. We can be the Christ. We can be that breath for someone else or some other group that is having difficulty breathing. So some of you are here for your first time, and I know that this is not your spiritual community yet. But what I know is this: when I walked in through these doors for the first time, something in me changed. I felt as if the young woman who was standing up front was speaking directly to me. I started understanding who I was more in that 1 hour than I had in 10 years. So I'm hoping that maybe I have that same power. And what I'm hoping is if you've been coming to this church a long time, that you join our committed community giving program, our automatic tithing program, whatever you want to call it, our membership program. And if you don't have $30 a week, I ask that you just give $1 a day, so $30 a month. I think that if we really want to see something flourish, if we want to see something grow, we commit to it and we give to it. And what I want is I want to see this church grow. I want to see individuals that are committed to making this happen. So even if it is your first time, if you think that for an inkling what we're doing here has a resemblance of good, I ask that you consider whether you come back once or you come back every week to at least give $1 a day. $30 a month to promote what we are doing and how we are doing it. And I promise you at Unity Southeast we are doing so much not only for this community but the community that surrounds us. And so if you're committed to doing good, I encourage you to think about joining our automatic tithing, automatic giving program. Because I do believe that there are 100 people out there that would give. And I believe that those 100 people would change the way this church looks forever. And I know that if we did that, then we can get bathrooms on the main floor. I know if we did that, we could get fabulous musicians every Sunday. I know if we did that, then on Wednesdays when we had our Love Thy Neighbor meetings, when people walked into the door, we would be able to do so much more. I know that we'd be able to give people a hand up when they need it. But I also know that it takes a committed group of people to accomplish that. I know that it's not about me anymore, and that I have to give some of that responsibility to each and every one of you. I'm committed to give each and every day, each and every week, each and every Sunday, each and every month. My intention is to be here for the long term. I'm hoping that something I said today or something that Alyssa said today resonates with you and you say, hey, I'm committed to that too. So as you leave today, I'm going to ask you to grab one of two forms, and if you decide to bring them back, you can. If you decide not to, that's on you. There are two forms. One is an automatic giving form. What that does is it allows you to fill out the form, and what that will do is you will be able to assign once a month or once a week that you want to take a certain amount out of your bank account or debit account. Now, I understand for some of you that's not comfortable because maybe you are just here for your first time. So the other form you have an option for is just a pledge form saying, you can't do anything, but I'm promising or I'm committing to come in once a month or once a quarter or once a week and give. And this is what I'm willing to give, so you can base your budget upon it. My goal, my hope, my dream, my desire for this church and for this community is that by January 1st, 2019, we are fully funded. That gives us roughly 5 months. What I know is we're well on our way. And so, as you breathe in and as you breathe out, like was mentioned today, I want you to understand that that breath of life is sacred. That breath of life is divine. And that breath of life gives you responsibility. Because you decide how this church will breathe going forward. You decide if our breath is restricted or if it's open and free. Just something for you to think about. At this time, I'd like to welcome our new guests. I know for me, the first time I walked into a church, the last thing I wanted to do was be pointed out. The last thing I wanted to do was raise my hand and stand up and say, yeah, it's me, I'm the new person. The nice thing about having a small church is we know who you are. But if it's uncomfortable for you, I invite you not to do anything. But if you are here for your first time, or if you've been coming for years and it feels like your first time, I invite you to either raise your hand or stand up and just give us your name and a brief statement, 30 to 60 seconds, on what you learned today or what you want us to take with us when you leave. So if anybody's comfortable, I ask you to do so right here.
Magic sentence, she said, what if we want them to take with them when they leave? That's a book. Okay? Come downstairs, look at the books, take a book with you.
We do have a library downstairs filled with books, and you can check out up to 3 at any given time. So definitely go down to the library and grab some things. Anyone else want to say, go ahead and stand. You don't have to stand, but no, stand.
I just wanted to offer my services. I rehab houses, and I'd love to be a part of adding a bathroom, a ramp. Have very good contractors. I don't do the work myself. I have very good contractors that can build that, and I'd be more than happy to donate whatever. I don't want to go too far, but you know, whatever. I would give $5,200 to it.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate that. This is Bob Jackson. Bob, stand up. Bob, if she leaves without you getting her name, we're going to have
Oh, well, she's going to make me talk, even though she's the talker. I'm Randy. This is Robin. Last name Fricky, not Picky.
You could only be so lucky.
I just want to thank you for the wonderful service and the terrific words you gave. I mean, it's very refreshing to come into a church or a community and hear the positivity. And what you gave me today, what I can take back is that I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to let God direct my life.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming. Did you want to add anything? Ditto, right? Ditto. Well, you trained them, right? You gave them the script and said, this is what yours to say. Okay? I don't want to limit it. Okay, thank you. This says Robert Cummings came in, and we did our new member ceremony today, and you weren't here. So I want you to go ahead and give you your... Actually, I'm going to give it to you afterwards, because it's sitting right down there. Anyone else that wants to say anything? If not, we're good. Okay. Speaking of our committed community members, we did this week, because we've been thinking about this, I did make a list of those individuals who are already part of our automatic tithing program and our pledge tithing program. And so as you can see, the bottom line says, your name here. So next week, I'd like to make sure that I can type your name in. So as you leave, once again, grab a piece of paper because I'm being told to ask you to give and put you in the flow.